I spent years thinking that quitting weed was just about stopping something, stopping my cravings, stopping my urges, just stopping myself from doing the action. But no matter how many times I tried quitting, I kept relapsing. It took me 10 years of addiction, 10 years of being addicted, to realize that weed was actually not the problem. If you also tried quitting but felt stuck, bored, empty, or just have the feel that quitting feels impossible, then there might be something no one ever told you. Here is a misconception when it comes down to quitting weed. I used to be addicted to weed for almost 10 years. Now, to give you like a little bit of context about myself, I'm a refugee. My parents escaped illegally from one country to another, migrated, and here I am. Now the thing is, the first 6 years when my parents migrated illegally to another country, we were illegal. We didn't have papers, we had nothing. My parents were poor, so was I. There was like a language barrier between me and other kids, and so I just couldn't like put things into context. It was a crazy situation. For the first 6 years, my parents were like afraid of being deported, which actually also happened. I got deported at the age of 1 with my mom. I got sent to prison. All I'm trying to hint is like my childhood was not like the most easiest to comprehend. And so I didn't know what it was back in the day. I used to have this heavy feeling inside of my body. It just felt as if everything felt 10 times harder for me. In other words, I was depressed, but I didn't know that. Now, that was up until the age of 13 or 14, I think. That's when I discovered weed. I used to hate my life. I used to be depressed. I hated that I was poor. I didn't really understand why that was. My parents didn't really have like the best explanations for me. And even though I remember my parents told me like, hey, you shouldn't really like smoke because weed and drugs and all those certain things are bad for you, I ended up finding friends who were smoking weed, and they were telling like this amazing stories about how cool it is and how super fun it is. And so I ended up smoking my first joint, and to my surprise, that became literally my salvation. Life suddenly felt amazing. I had good hunger pangs, I was eating well, sleeping well, laughing my ass off with my friends, having great amounts of fun with everything. My life suddenly like got enhanced. Anyways though, as much as I did used to enjoy weed, there came a certain point that I realized like, yo, maybe weed isn't like the best option for me. I came to the conclusion like, okay, I have social anxiety, I can't read anymore. I also got caught by the cops, and so I came to the conclusion like, okay, I need to stop smoking weed. The only problem though was that the moment I dropped weed, the moment I told myself like, okay, I'm not gonna smoke weed, I felt so bad. I realized that smoking weed became such a part of my life where I couldn't like actually like live without it. Literally, like staying away from weed was at the cost of me not functioning properly. I couldn't sleep. I had like insane withdrawal symptoms. Like I was telling myself like, okay, I'm supposed to stop. Stopping is going to make me feel better. But for some reason, the moment I stop, everything gets worse. When thinking back of those times, I remember that I was just like feeling hopeless. That was though up until I met certain work of Carl Jung. Carl Jung, one of the grandfathers of psychology, he invented a lot of the psychological concepts we right now have as a human society. And so basically Carl Jung also invented this field of psychology called shadow psychology. And shadow psychology, this is the thing that actually really like shined light on the problem that was actually going on. Now, what is shadow work, you might ask yourself? Well, shadow work is a certain subfield of psychology that actually focuses on the subconscious parts of your inner self. We as human beings have shadows, is what Carl refers to. And what this means is that we have certain parts in our subconscious mind, so not in our conscious mind, not what we think of, but that are like, it's kind of like the hardware of a computer, right? Just like every computer has like hardware and software, you know, like the software runs on top of the hardware. We also have a hardware, and this is like basically like the storage place where all of our beliefs get stored in our subconscious. Now, you might ask yourself, what does this has to do with quitting weed and smoking weed? Well, that's where Carl's work comes into place, and that made me realize that there is a coping mechanism, or at least a certain inner conflict we have with ourselves that actually runs this, right? Literally, the moment something happens not in the way I want it, I can just smoke something, forget about it, feel good, and forget about the consequences. And so what I'm saying is that if you want to quit weed, you should not focus that much on the weed itself. The weed is just a symptom. What it actually is more about is the coping mechanism and finding the reason why you started to begin with. Why are you intoxicating your body with a substance that in the long term literally kills you? Why? Well, that is because it gives you another payoff, and this payoff is it numbs you, it makes you feel good, you forget your problems, you forget stress, you forget everything. So in that regard, that's why you don't have to focus on the weed. You don't really have to focus on the withdrawals or on the motivation or going cold turkey. It's not about those things, okay? Quitting weed is about facing yourself, facing the reasons why you decided to escape. What is this pain that gets numbed, that pays off from smoking weed? Because at the end of the day, it's a trade you're making. You smoke, you intoxicate yourself for the purpose of getting off the payoff that actually like numbs the stress, the inconveniences, the people that annoy you, etc., you name it. The moment something doesn't go our way, we find ways to distract ourselves, or in this case, smoke weed. So the question becomes, why are we doing that, right? Why can't we just stay present and face life for what it actually is? Face our problems, face people that annoy us, face the things that don't go our way, right? Anyways, if you enjoy this type of content, check out this video.